глубоко уважаемый генеральный директор Международного энергетического агентства, Международного агентства по атомной энергии господин Юкия Амано, глубоко уважаемые члены делегации МАГАТЭ, дорогие гости, студенты, преподаватели. Для нас, для университета МГИМО, для Международного института энергетической политики и дипломатии огромная честь принимать в этом зале руководителя ведущей международной организации, занимающейся вопросами научно-технического сотрудничества в области мирного использования ядерных технологий. Сегодня проблемы развития энергетики, энергоэффективности, обеспечения энергетической безопасности, укрепления международного энергетического сотрудничества вышли на первый план. Прогнозы ведущих экспертов свидетельствуют о растущем значении атомной энергетики, и в этой связи деятельность МАГАТЭ приобретает все более важное значение. Сегодня у нас есть уникальная возможность встретиться с одним из крупнейших мировых экспертов, главой одной из наиболее авторитетных и уважаемых международных организаций в энергетической сфере и узнать о наиболее важных и актуальных направлениях деятельности МАГАТЭ, приоритетных задачах агентства, тех проблемах, которые сегодня стоят перед мировой ядерной энергетикой. Наш уважаемый гость, руководитель Международного агентства по атомной энергии, господин Юкия Амано, окончил юридический факультет Токийского университета. После этого работал в Министерстве иностранных дел Японии, занимал высокие дипломатические посты. Был чрезвычайным и полномочным послом Японии при международных организациях в Вене, занимался вопросами развития ядерной энергетики и нераспространения ядерного оружия. В 1993 году господин Юкия Амано возглавил департамент МИД Японии по атомным исследованиям и в том же году был назначен директором департамента по ядерной энергетике. Господин Амано работал советником японской делегации на конференции по разоружению в Швейцарии, участвовал в заключении международных договоров о нераспространении ядерного оружия и о всеобъемлющем запрещении ядерных испытаний. В 1999 году господин Юкия Амано был назначен на пост заместителя руководителя департамента японского МИДа по делам науки и контроля над вооружениями. С 2000 года по 2001 год являлся председателем группы по ядерной безопасности Организации Большой Семерки, G7. Затем работал экспертом при Президиуме Организации Объединенных Наций, после чего вернулся в Японию, где возглавил департамент МИД по делам науки, разоружения и нераспространения ядерного оружия. В 2005 году господин Юкия Амано стал представителем Японии в Международном агентстве по атомной энергии МАГАТЭ и в 2008 году был выдвинут японским правительством на пост генерального директора этой авторитетной международной организации. В июле 2009 года господин Амано был избран на пост генерального директора МАГАТЭ. Особо хочу отметить, что господин Юкия Амано является автором многочисленных фундаментальных трудов по вопросам нераспространения ядерного оружия. А сейчас я с огромным удовольствием хотел бы передать слово генеральному директору Международного агентства по атомной энергии господину Юкия Амано.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, I have to apologize to be late. The traffic was very heavy. There were many nice cars, and there were traffic jams. It means that the economy is good, so you can't complain. On my part, I took a short nap in the car, and I'm very well prepared for this lecture. In this room, I recognize lots of female students. This is very good gender balance. My organization is trying to increase the number of female staff by up to 30%, but we have not yet been successful. So your institute, university, is much more advanced than our organization. Congratulations. It is a great pleasure for me to address the International Institute of Energy Policy and Diplomacy. The Moscow State Institute of International Relations has an international reputation for academic excellence. I have met many distinguished graduates of the Institute during my diplomatic career and found them to be professionals of the highest caliber. The establishment of the International Institute of Energy Policy and Diplomacy in 2000 was an imaginative step. Securing adequate and sustainable supplies of clean energy is one of the major challenges facing the world in the 21st century. Your graduates will be well placed to take up on leadership roles in government, business, and diplomacy in the years to come. I'm sure that you have a bright future in the coming years. I would like to talk to you today about the role of the International Atomic Energy Agency and some of the challenges we face. Like an institute, we operate at the nexus of energy and diplomacy. The IAEA was founded in Vienna in 1957. We are part of the UN family, but we are an independent organization. We were established by our own statute, and we have our own policy-making bodies. There are general conference of all 159 member states, which usually meet once a year in September, and the 35-nation Board of Governors, which meets several times a year. We'll have the next Board of Governors in June, and I'm now preparing for that. As Director General of the agency, my job is to run the IAEA Secretariat, which has around 2,500 people, and implement the policies laid down by the member states. In the half-century since it was established, the IAEA has pursued two fundamental objectives: preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons and helping to make nuclear technologies available for peaceful applications. The IAEA is known as a nuclear watchdog. In Japan, we say nuclear guardian, but that is not the only face of the IAEA. We are doing very extensive and important activities in other fields than the nuclear safeguard, but I'll touch upon it later. Russia has been an active and leading member of the IAEA from the start. You have a dynamic nuclear energy industries, which is increasingly active, both at home and abroad. Many Russian scientists, engineers, and diplomats have served with distinction at the IAEA. I'm very grateful for the strong support which Russia provides to the agency and to myself. The IAEA has a very broad mandate, and it would take too long to cover all aspects of our work in detail today. I will therefore focus on three key areas: nuclear power, nuclear science and application, and nuclear non-proliferation. But if you have questions on other areas, you will feel free to ask questions after this short speech. First, nuclear power. When I became Director General of the IAEA in December 2009, nuclear power was on a path of strong expansion. Everybody discussed the nuclear renaissance. Established users, including Russia, were building more nuclear power plants. Many new countries, including in the developing world, were considering adding nuclear power to their energy mix. Then came the Fukushima Daiichi accident in Japan in March 2011. When I joined the agency, I had a concern that some accident would happen, but I never thought that it would happen in my own country, Japan, and such a severe accident. It caused profound public anxiety throughout the world and damaged confidence in nuclear power. Some people predicted that nuclear power would go into decline. One country's accident is every country's accident, and everybody worried, and people thought perhaps this is the end of the nuclear power. However, the evidence suggests that this will not be the case. Gradually, nuclear power looks set to continue to grow steadily, although more slowly than we expected before the Fukushima Daiichi accident. Every year, between April and the end of June, we do research. We ask questions to member states and make estimates of the future of nuclear power. There are now 136 operating nuclear power reactors in the world. Another 68 are under construction. The IAEA's latest projections suggest that the number of nuclear power plants in the world could increase by at least 80 or 90 in the next 20 years. It could even double. Major users such as Russia, China, and India have significant expansion plans. A number of countries have taken the decision to introduce nuclear power, we call newcomers, like Bangladesh, Jordan, Nigeria, Poland, Turkey, and Vietnam. The United Arab Emirates has started building a nuclear power plant, the first new country to do so for 27 years. I visited the site of the construction in UAE in January, and I was very much impressed by the progress being made. Countries which opt for nuclear power believe it can help to improve their energy security. It can reduce the impact of volatile fossil fuel prices and mitigate the effect of climate changes. For developing countries such as India and China, nuclear power can be a vitally important contribution to growth. The IAEA does not try to influence the decision by countries. It is up to each country to decide whether or not to use nuclear power. But IAEA is active in helping countries with all aspects of nuclear power when they decide to embark on nuclear power. For example, we advise them to energy planning on how to put the appropriate legal and regulatory framework in place and how to ensure the highest standard of safety, security, and safeguards. Ladies and gentlemen, the lasting legacy of Fukushima Daiichi accident will be a much more intense global focus on nuclear safety. The accident was a big wake-up call for everyone involved in nuclear power, a painful reminder that safety can never be taken for granted, even in an advanced industrial country like Japan. A few months after the accident, our member states adopted an IAEA action plan on nuclear safety, which is now being implemented. Virtually all member states with nuclear power plants have conducted so-called stress tests to assess how well facilities are likely to withstand extreme events such as earthquake, tsunami, or flooding. Many practical steps have been taken, such as equipping plants with portable diesel generators and building higher protective walls. Tomorrow, I'm going to see Kalinin nuclear power plant, and I'm looking forward to see what were the safety features before Fukushima and what additional measures have been taken. I went to India, I went to South Africa, and everywhere I see additional safety features. For example, in South Africa, they had new diesel generators, and they were placed at an on the elevated ground. In India, I saw the hookup to provide cooling water at high level, and the pipes are painted in red. The hookup is outside the building, so we can see immediately which are the additional hookups, where to connect the hose for the supply of water to cool down the reactors. These are the new features that we did not have in the past. In one of the control room, I saw a small warehouse where all the emergency tools were stored. So in case of emergency, they don't have to run around to find out where the important tools are stored. They can go directly to this warehouse established near the operation room, and they can do the emergency works. Next month, the IAEA will hold an international ministerial conference of nuclear power in the 21st century in St. Petersburg. This morning, I had a meeting with the dignitaries of your government, and we have discussed how to well prepare for this meeting. This St. Petersburg conference will provide a valuable opportunity to consider nuclear power's long-term contribution to sustainable development. The worst moment after Fukushima Daiichi accident is over. We have learned lessons, and now it is time for us to look into the future. The statutory objective of the IAEA is to accelerate and enlarge the contribution of atomic energy to peace, health, and prosperity throughout the world. Nuclear power has been a high priority for the agency since the beginning. A key aspect of our work is making nuclear technology available to developing countries for peaceful purposes. In Vienna, journalists are interested in Iran nuclear issues or North Korean nuclear issues. But there are over 100 member states of the IAEA who are rather interested in how they can benefit from the nuclear technology. Unfortunately, this aspect of the agency, I mean the activities of the IAEA in nuclear application field, is not that well known. But this is as important as other activities. The IAEA Technical Cooperation Program helps countries in areas such as human and animal health, food safety and security, agriculture, and environmental monitoring. We make nuclear techniques available to help countries fight animal disease, grow new varieties of food crops that can thrive even in difficult conditions, and manage their water supplies. I am very much interested in these activities, so if I explain all of them, I'll spend too much time. But just example, from the earth, only 2 diseases have been eradicated. One is smallpox, and another is rinderpest. And rinderpest is the pest for animals, porks and other animals. And last year, we have celebrated the eradication of rinderpest. We have done this project together with FAO. For the development of new variety of crops, I went to Indonesia, and they have developed a new type of rice that can produce twice as big grains as before. And this is very helpful to produce, to help to address the food issue. In Sahel region, we are making our technology available for the mapping and empowering people to monitor water. And close to some 20 countries are benefiting from this technology. By using isotope technology, people can better understand and control underground water. And water is a very scarce resource and will become more scarce resource in the future. Cancer control in developing countries is a matter of keen interest for myself. Cancer was long thought to be a disease of rich countries, but this is completely untrue. Nowadays, 70% of cancer cases are diagnosed in developing countries. 70% of cancer occur in developing countries. Many of them come to screening too late, and we cannot give life-saving treatment. So again, if you have questions on cancer in developing countries, I am delighted to explain many details, but perhaps now I had better not to go into details. Just as a matter of general nature, let me say this. 17 countries in sub-Saharan Africa do not have any radiotherapy services at all. There's a general shortage of well-trained specialists. As a result, around 3/4 of the cancer patients in developing countries are diagnosed too late for effective treatment. This means that hundreds of thousands of people do not have access to treatment that could save their lives. So this is a real tragedy. The IAEA supports over 130 countries, 30 projects in cancer diagnosis, management, and treatment. Oncology and radiotherapy centers are being established with our support in countries such as Afghanistan, Eritrea, and Mozambique. We provide extensive training to health professionals. Your country is very active to help countries of states of the former Soviet Union, and we are working hand in hand. So the cancer control in developing countries will remain a high priority for the IAEA in the coming years. The third main area of our work, which I want to address, is nuclear non-proliferation. This is the area which is most often in the public eye, so-called nuclear watchdog role. Under the Treaty of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, no non-nuclear weapon states commit themselves to use nuclear material exclusively for peaceful purpose. They are required then to conclude a comprehensive safeguard agreement with the IAEA and to submit a declaration of all their nuclear material and facilities to us. The IAEA has the right and obligation to verify that the country's declaration is correct and complete. We have several hundred inspectors who are constantly on the road visiting facilities all over the world. If a country fails to comply with its comprehensive safeguard agreement, the IAEA reports it to the UN Security Council. It is then up to the Security Council to take appropriate action. The IAEA safeguard system seems to have worked rather well until the early 1990s. However, the discovery of secret nuclear weapon programs in Iraq after the first Gulf War made it clear that the IAEA did not have sufficient tools to verify the absence of undeclared nuclear material and activities in a country. In response, our member states approved the so-called additional protocol in 1997. This gives the agency expanded tools, including additional access to information and sites. The additional protocol is essential for the IAEA to be able to conclude that all of a country's nuclear material remains in exclusively peaceful purpose. The number of states with additional protocol in force now stands at 119. The IAEA has paid special attention in recent years to the nuclear programs of 3 countries, Iran, North Korea, and Syria. These countries have not fully complied with their safeguards agreement with the IAEA and failed to implement relevant UN Security Council resolutions. You have interest in these issues, and I come back to this in the question and answer session. Before concluding, I wanted to mention that the IAEA also plays the central role as the global platform to strengthen nuclear safety. You may think that nuclear terrorism may not be the real case, but we have some database on illicit trafficking, and we have some 2,000 pieces of information. And in some cases, people try to smuggle high-enriched uranium. And we never know, we know everything. This may be the tip of iceberg. Our work focuses, therefore, on helping to minimize the risk of nuclear and other radioactive material falling into the hands of terrorists or of nuclear facilities being subjected to malicious acts. Nuclear security will be the focus of an important IAEA ministerial conference in Vienna in July this year. I hope I have given you some insight into the work of this organization, which I have the honor to lead. I also hope that some of you will consider coming to the workforce in the future. I stop here and will be glad to take your questions. Thank you very much.
Спасибо, господин Юкия Амано, за очень интересное, за очень содержательное выступление. И у нас есть уникальная возможность задать вопросы. Пожалуйста. Пожалуйста.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. It was very wonderful and informative. And I'm a fourth-year student of economic faculty of our university, and I want to get to know one economic question, some interesting facts about economic strategy of your organization. Proponents of nuclear energy claim that it's the cheapest source of energy, while the opponents say that it is ultimately more expensive than any other type of electrical power generation. And my question is, what is your idea of the economics in nuclear power generation in comparison with any other type of electrical power generation? Thank you.
My answer is that it depends on the country. And we don't have a unique answer. If a country has some abundant hydro, for example, Brazil has some huge hydro resource, then hydro may be the most advantageous, economically advantageous resource. In the country where they have abundant natural gas, then natural gas will be economically competitive source. After Fukushima Daiichi accident, there was a proposal from the United Nations to do a UN study on the pros and cons of the nuclear power. But I said this is not a good idea because the advantage and disadvantage of, even if only speaking economic competitiveness, varies depending on the country. There is no single economic competitiveness in the world. If I just take up the example of my own country, Japan, nuclear is the most competitive one. The most expensive one is renewable. It is about 4 times more expensive than nuclear. Oil, the coal is the second, and gas is the following. Oil is more expensive, and renewable is most expensive. This is the economic aspect, but economic aspect is not the only consideration. What will be the effect to the global climate change? What will be the future cost of fossil fuel? There are lots of uncertainties. What source of energy is best fitted for the peak load or base load? And the general trend is that depending on one source of energy is not the good idea. Many countries, therefore, establish the mix of different sources of energy, and best mix changes depending on the country.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Amano, thank you for coming here, and we are glad to welcome you in the university. My question will be the following. You've spoken on behalf of the organization, and you've mentioned that nowadays your strategy is that every country can either use nuclear energy or not. And now I'm interested in your personal opinion. As we know, nowadays Russia is planning to build nuclear plants in several countries such as Slovakia, Ukraine, Turkey, China, and other countries. And what do you personally think about this tendency? Thank you.
The decision whether to introduce a nuclear power or not lies on each country's decision. So I don't say decision of certain countries to expand nuclear power is good or bad. But if they construct nuclear power plants, that must be done safely, securely, and sustainably. And not all the countries can construct nuclear power plants. Russia is one of the few countries that can construct nuclear power plants. This industry of nuclear power plant is a very interesting one. The number of countries that can construct nuclear power plants are quite limited. You have Russia, France, United States, Japan, and some other countries. These countries are competing each other but at the same time, they are cooperating each other, making available the best technology, and maintaining the options for countries is a very good thing. I think Russia is playing a very important role to make the nuclear energy available for many countries.
Good evening, Mr. Director General. Hello, that's me, Alexander Yelistratov, RIA Novosti News Agency. What is the agency's attitude towards the latest nuclear tests in the North Korea, and what will be the methods of the agency which you planned to use to influence the North Korea to stop these tests? Thank you.
We are stationed in Vienna. Looking from Vienna, Iran nuclear issue is the #1 issue. I come from different part of the world, and I believe that North Korean nuclear issue is as serious or even worse than Iran nuclear issue. Why? Because North Korea has declared to withdraw from the NPT. They have expelled all the IAEA inspectors. They have developed nuclear weapons and detonated it. And they threaten neighboring countries to put their capitals on fire. And recently, they have conducted nuclear tests and launched missiles. So these activities are deeply troubling for the region and beyond. This is not a regional problem. This gives impact to the global security. I add my voice to the concerns expressed by world leaders. What will be the future then? Many people believe that this is the end, there is no way to address this issue. Coming from that part of the world, I am not that sure. Of course, I cannot be optimistic. It is a very serious, difficult problem. But if you look back at the past history, there were good times and there were bad times. There is a solid framework of negotiation which is called six-party talk. And North Korea has an incentive to change course. And, Iran is a very wealthy country, but North Korea depends very much on assistance from outside world. China is giving assistance, but China is taking more and more difficult position vis-à-vis North Korea. So, and also I'm sure that North Korea is not satisfied with the current situation. Other countries, like your country, United States, Japan, South Korea, are very much willing to work together to achieve the Korean peninsula without nuclear weapons. And if North Korea changes its policy, all of these countries are willing to help them. I again would like to stress, we can never be optimistic, but we should not think that this is the end of the story. IAEA maintains a channel of dialogue with North Korea. We are very much convinced that Korean Peninsula need to be denuclearized, and if it happens, the IAEA can play an essential role as the only multilateral verification organization in the world. So we are willing to send staff again to North Korea. But for that, basic political agreement is needed.
My name is Vadim Kerjimankin. I'm a first grade student of МГИМО International Institute of Public Administration, and I'm very glad to listen to your interesting lecture, and I also would like to ask you a question. concerning nuclear energy. I wonder what is the global share of nuclear energy? And my next question is that what do you think about the future of nuclear energy industry in developed countries, especially in Europe, and comparing it to such activities like developing renewables, namely solar, wind, or hydro stations energy? Thank you.
Thank you. I do not remember well, but the percentage of nuclear occupies in the global energy is around 60%, but I may be wrong. Future of industry in developed countries, it depends on the region. In Europe, the expansion of nuclear power is very limited, and it is even possible to decrease slightly by 2030. In Asia, the expansion is very rapid. We have discussed, we talked about nuclear renaissance before Fukushima accident, but retrospectively, I asked, was it really the case that there was a nuclear renaissance in Europe? Perhaps not. Nuclear renaissance was rather in Asia. In the United States, United States is the country where they have the largest number of nuclear power plants, but they are coming to the timing of replacement. Do they expand the use of nuclear power by constructing new ones or not? There is uncertainties because of the shale gas, and the shale gas is one of the uncertainties. And climate change. If we continue to believe that climate change is a very important problem, usefulness of nuclear will increase. If our people forget about climate change, the value of nuclear power will decrease. As a general trend, I think that the nuclear power will continue to play a role in developed countries. But the importance is much higher in the emerging economies like China, India, or some other countries. Although the absolute volume is limited, developing countries would like to embark on nuclear power. Vietnam, your country is cooperating with Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Turkey, or UAE, or Saudi Arabia. These countries are very eager to use nuclear power. Just a small note on Europe. I talked about Europe having in mind the developed, very developed European countries like Germany. But if we turn our eyes to the countries in the former Eastern Bloc, the situation is a bit different. Poland is considering to construct a new nuclear power plant. Czech Republic, Hungary, or Lithuania, or Slovenia. These countries are considering to construct new nuclear power plants. The state of former Soviet Union, like Belarus or Kazakhstan or Ukraine, are also considering to embark on or increase the nuclear power. So the situation is different depending on the region, but in general, there will be steady increase, although the pace of increase is lower than expected before Fukushima Daiichi accident.
Good afternoon, Mr. Amano. Thank you for a very interesting lecture. My name is Makara Fulan. I'm the first-year student of MGIMO University. My question is, what is your position on the problem with Iranian nuclear projects? Thank you.
The issue of Iran nuclear issue is very complicated and has a long history. But in short, it is rather simple. When I joined the IAEA in 2009, I made it clear that all the countries, including Iran, have to implement the comprehensive safeguard and other relevant obligations like UN Security Council resolutions. This is the objective standard, and it is not impartial, it is not political, but very clear single standard. In light of that, Iran has a problem. We can verify that nuclear material and facilities placed under safeguard are remaining in peaceful purpose. But we have information indicating that Iran was engaged in activities on developing nuclear relevant to the development of nuclear explosive devices. Iran is not implementing the UN Security Council resolutions, in particular, additional protocol, and a part of the comprehensive safeguard. Therefore, our knowledge of undeclared activities in Iran is reducing. We do not know whether the information with possible military dimension is correct or not. We are now asking Iran to clarify these issues. We say, we have information. Please clarify this, whether these pieces of information is correct or not. But they do not cooperate with us. So I cannot say that Iran, all the activities in Iran is only for peaceful purpose. And Iran has a case to answer.
Mr. Kano, hello. Thank you for your speech and my question. We have heard a lot about the shale gas revolution in the United States and its large profits, a lot of investments in this industry. And shale gas has already pushed out coal out of the generation of electricity. And what do you think? Whether shale gas will replace nuclear power?
When I talked about the estimates of expansion for the future, I said by 2030, there will be an increase of nuclear power plants by 80 or 90, or even doubled. In the production capacity, low scenario indicates that there will be increase by 23%, and in a high scenario, 100%. The variation from 23% to 100% takes into account on the use of shale gas. If the use of shale gas is limited, that will contribute to the strong expansion. If the use of shale gas is very active, then the use of nuclear power will be limited. However, I have to say two things. Our knowledge about the future of the use of shale gas is not that clear. That clear. We have done our estimates based on our research of 2 years ago and last year, but we don't know. We don't have yet this year's figure. This may be indifferent. Second, whatever the case, it will not happen that country or countries depend only on one single source of energy. The utilities have the tendency of having a good portfolio of energy source, and they hedge risk to investing only in shale gas, only in hydro, or only in nuclear power. So I think the nuclear power will be included in the portfolio of nuclear of energy, electricity. But it is true that the use of nuclear shale gas will affect the future of nuclear power, but we do not know yet how much will be the influence of shale gas. This is where we stand today.
Thank you.
Mr. Director General, thank you for your very informative and very interesting lecture. I'm a master's student and I would like to ask a quite specific, even technical question. As you've mentioned several times, the International Atomic Energy Agency is the central platform for maintaining the idea that the nuclear energy is vital for world energy system. However, there is another organization which deals with energy issues worldwide. This is International Energy Forum. And especially as the next ministerial will be held here in Moscow next year, it's interesting to know if your organization takes part in preparation of agenda for the next ministerial, and if you regard this organization as a helpful platform for promoting the atomic energy worldwide. Thank you.
The IAEA is a technical organization, and but we are not a political organization. We are not promoting, we are not discouraging nuclear power. We are observing very carefully what happens on the ground. We are putting questions to member states. What will be their future plan of the use of nuclear power? And our observation is that many countries will continue to use nuclear power. And they have reasons like the need to mitigate the climate change effect, get prepared for the volatile price of fossil fuel, or the nuclear energy security, or maintain the economic competitiveness. So we are quite sure that there will be steady expansion of nuclear power, but it must be with some strengthened attention on safety. What will be the outcome of the St. Petersburg conference? That is something member states of the IAEA will decide, but not me. But my perspective is that it is very likely that member states will make it clear that they would continue to use nuclear power, but emphasis will be placed on the safety. And by maintaining highest level of safety, I anticipate that member states will express their very forthcoming position vis-à-vis nuclear power.
Уважаемые гости, уважаемые студенты, преподаватели, мы, к сожалению, должны завершать нашу сегодняшнюю встречу. У господина Амано состоится встреча. Я хотел бы, завершая нашу встречу, поблагодарить господина Юкия Амано за чрезвычайно интересное и содержательное выступление и от всех присутствующих пожелать дальнейших успехов в этой чрезвычайно важной деятельности на благо всего мирового сообщества. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.